top 5 receiver in the league right now in terms of yardage.
Okay.
Yeah, wait till I finish the sentence. He's probably a top, at least top 15 receiver overall.
I'd be scared for a second.
Anyway,
he's drinking that Bears Kool-Aid.
But he's been incredible. You can't deny that he's been incredible. He's been incredible.
When I bought the Rolls Royce,
they thought it was lethal.
We should probably start.
Lease, not lethal.
What?
Lease, because the next line is rest in peace. Hey, rest in peace, rest in peace to the parking lot. Phantom so big, can't even fit in the parking spot.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inside Sports Podcast. Yes, the DE is capitalized. This is episode 13. I am Cole. I got Joey to my left, Jordan to my right. We're going to catch you guys up with some Dogs of the Vet. Let's go ahead and break into volleyball, where we suffered an 0-3 loss to Northern Iowa in the semifinals of the conference tournament. But we did beat Belmont 3-0 in the quarterfinals. Jickers, I'm just going to hand the baton right to you, seeing as you are the volleyball expert. Tell us what you saw.
Expert, I don't know. We haven't had a broadcast in a while just because of the conflicting schedules of football and basketball. But I've still been paying attention to the team. What an end to the season they had. Winning 7 games in a row, getting some huge revenge wins as well, like we said, over Murray State and Belmont, who we beat again in the conference tournament. I don't take any sort of shame in the loss to Northern Iowa, honestly. They're one of the top 40, 50 teams in the country. They deserve a spot in the NCAA tournament. Now, as it pertains to us, surprisingly, and I didn't even think about this as a possibility, we did get invited to the NIVT. As everyone knows, it's the National Invitational Volleyball Tournament.
That's right.
Right? Really rolls off the tongue.
I tune in every year.
And so they pair everyone regionally, so it's not seeded really. And we got in Drake's region, of course, a team in our conference who has given us a lot of problems. Right. And so we're just going to have to bow up and play against them and see what happens. If we are able to beat DePaul, which is who we are playing literally right now, I'm pulling the stats up. It is 8-4, set 2. We are down. We lost set 1, 27-25. So it looks like it's going to be a good match. Hopefully we can come through in sets 2, 3, 4, and 5, pull out a victory there. But again, like I said, the end of the season was fantastic. I think personally that Natalie Garcia cemented herself as one of the top SIU volleyball players ever. She's incredible. She helped get us to 20 wins for the first time since 2016. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's incredible. And I think this team is, as a program, is on the way up for sure. Ed Allen has done an unbelievable job. Got a couple nice signees in this class, a couple outside hitters, middle blockers, which I think are really going to help us out. So congratulations to the volleyball team, regardless of what happens in this NIVT tournament.
Jickers talked a little bit about it, but, we got some recruits coming in. We're coming off a really, really great season. Do you think that Joy B, this leads some momentum into really kind of helping Ed Allen get this program going, right? I mean, he came in, it was a 5-win team, not the best.
Yeah.
But now it certainly seems like he's building something here. Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. And I think just showing that staying with this program for, sticking with it after a couple seasons of not really doing the greatest, years back, it really tells me something about what Coach Ed Allen can do if he has a player for long enough. And somebody I wanted to just shout out a little bit that I don't think we've talked about nearly enough on this podcast specifically, and just in any media that covers SIU volleyball, is Imani Hartfield. She has been one of the better members of this team, and I think she doesn't get as much of a spotlight as Tatum Tornado or Natalie Garcia, of course. She is 3rd in hitting percentage in the conference this season. So talk about efficiency. She doesn't get as many kills as like Natalie or Tatum, but she's a massive reason as to why we have been as successful as we have been. She's also great defensively. She's top 10 in blocks. So she's a dual threat athlete out there for us, both offensively and defensively, and I think she doesn't get talked about enough.
Absolutely correct. And so, like I said, we reached 20 wins in the season. We are playing DePaul right now, so we wish them the best of luck, obviously. Hopefully they come up victorious in that one. And then who would they play if they beat DePaul? Do you know off the top of your head?
The winner of Drake and Chicago State.
I see.
So Drake, obviously, like I mentioned, a team in our conference, a team that's had their way with us the last few seasons. Chicago State, they are only 13-8. They probably don't play in a great – I honestly don't know what conference Chicago State's in. I know in basketball they're independent, which really? I forgot was even a thing in basketball.
Me too. Okay.
But regardless, I think we would probably prefer to play them, get some new blood on the court. We could probably dominate that, honestly. But it'll probably end up being Drake. And who knows? You know what they say. It's always hard to beat a team twice, 3 times. So I don't know. I'm optimistic, honestly.
Yeah, who knows? Now that we're talking about the playoffs,
Yes, sir.
let's push it to football.
Let's go.
Where we had a
got
playoff shutout win
Oof.
against. It's pronounced Nichols, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I
Nichols.
figured like it's not that complicated, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to sound like an idiot. So obviously we won 35-0. Take that one. And apparently they got. Was it them who? Nichols. I'm speaking. Where they. We're going to take a flight out of Marion, but
Yes.
their plane got delayed, so they had to stay in Marion for over 24 hours.
Yeah.
No food or
That's
water.
brutal.
That is, to
awful.
take a shutout loss and then experience that,
Yeah.
I feel pretty bad for them. But it was our first playoff game at Saluki Stadium, which is also awesome. And we have a big opponent coming up in number 4 ranked Idaho. Joey B, do you think we can win this game?
It's a possibility for sure. I think anything's a possibility with this type of Saluki team that we've seen go through the highest of highs and lowest of lows in past seasons. But we're going to have our hands full, at least defensively. I know this is a defensive unit that has surpassed, I think, all of our expectations this year. Antonio James has done a terrific job as a fill-in defensive coordinator. But we have a couple big stars we're going to have to look out for against Idaho. They have 2 Walter Payton Award finalists. Giovanni McCoy, I hope that's how you pronounce it. He's the quarterback, and then Hayden Hatton as a receiver. So those are 2 huge names, at least in the FCS, that we're going to have to figure out a way to defend. So if you have 2 finalists for that type of award as best offensive player, you're surely going to have your you'll have all your eggs in one basket trying to handle those two guys. They're a much more balanced team than us, I would say. They're if you just look at the FCS stats, at least defensively in total defense and total offense, they're 8th in total defense, but they're also 21st in total offense. Now, in comparison, the Salukis were like 72nd in total offense, but we are also number 2 in total defense. Mm-hmm. So we rely heavily on our defense in a lot of these games.
Yeah.
As we've been talking about all season long. But, I think our defense will do a decent job at trying to limit, these 2 guys, like I mentioned, in this game. But I think it all comes down to our running game and Baker in this one.
Now, with what Joey talked about, right, this awesome pairing between Giovanni McCoy and Hayden Hatton, quarterback and wide receiver, they're a very balanced offense. I think that I get nervous when we run into teams like South Dakota State and North Dakota State, right, who run the ball so efficiently, because that is something that we have struggled with stopping this year. Our D-line is really not all that special. But where we do strive is our DBs. We had multiple DBs who were Missouri Valley Conference Players of the Year, and I think that we're a good matchup for this team because, like I said, they don't run the ball. I'm not super afraid of them on that end. And I think that we offensively kind of stack up against them. We're not the same team, as Joey mentioned, but I think that there are certainly some similarities which make me feel that we're closer than maybe some people ought to give us credit for. Am I wrong in that? Do you feel that obviously there is a little bit of a talent gap, but I believe in us, and I just want to know what your take is.
No, I think this game is strength on strength for sure, and I think we will be able to cancel out their offense. Like I don't even really think that's a hot take to say. We've faced the best teams in the country, being in the conference we are: South Dakota State, South Dakota, North Dakota State. We have been battle tested to the nth degree. Now, so have they. They've played both Montana schools. Both of those Montana schools will be competing toward the end of this tournament, and I don't think it's crazy to say that there is a talent gap, but I also don't think it's wide enough to where we can't dominate ourselves on the defensive end. Now, the only thing I would say is that those 2 guys who are up for their Walter Payton Award, if you're that good, that means you're probably an NFL player. It just speaks to how good guys from Idaho, Montana are, where they don't feel like they want to go to a big school, so they stay home and they play these FCS schools and they dominate. And that's why guys like Christian Watson as well from North Dakota State, they go to these places, they dominate, and then they get to go against teams like us in the playoffs who we've got our own fair share of really good players. You mentioned our DBs. I think PJ Jules legitimately could go to some training camps next year. That's how good he is. Our secondary is that good. So, yeah, it's going to be a really interesting thing to see, especially early on in this game, which side of the ball looks like they're going to be able to control the game. Because that's really all it's come down, for us this season is whoever controls the line of scrimmage. Not only will they win, but they most likely will dominate.
Absolutely, Jay Cruz. So best of luck to our guys out there on the field.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to basketball, where it's not nearly as positive. Pretty bad loss to Indiana State, where we lost 77-48. That was our first conference game, where we are 0-1. Here's what I'll say: Indiana State's pretty good. They're undeniably pretty good.
They're pretty good, but they're not that good.
All right, just jump into it. Give us your take. What was that game?
We should lose by 30 to anybody.
No, it's true.
I can tell you this: we're not going to lose by 30 to either of our next two opponents, which are St. Louis and Oklahoma State. I think this had just as much to do with first real road game as it did with them being maybe a little bit better. I don't think they're that much better than us. I think
they're certainly not 30 points better.
No, they're not 30 points better than us. I think. If we get to play them again, I think that'll show. Now, what the problem is, and it's the thing that's been the topic of conversation all off season, is who's going to be our scorers, and I mean that as besides Xavier, who by the way, shout out to him when they were in Cancun. I mean, he was going off. Awesome. But now we're in the part of the season, conference games are just different.
Yeah, they
at every single level of college basketball, conference games are just different. Home court is real. And if we don't have, up to this point at least, nobody besides him has shown the ability to create their own shot, be a consistent scorer. Like everyone else, and maybe it's just the offensive philosophy. I know you can probably speak to that better than I can, but I don't know. Something was just very, very, very wrong in Tuesday night's affair, and it's a little concerning early on. But again, we'll see how we bounce back in our next two games versus teams that I think we can beat, but I don't know. That was a little concerning.
We're going to need somebody to emerge. We're going to need at least – because I think that Xavier definitely proved that he can be a reliable first scoring option. Absolutely. But, man, I mean, who is going to be number two?
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of guys. We have a lot of specialists. And I'm a specialist guy. I like building a team out of, these guys shoot the three ball.
Yeah.
These guys rebound. They do this. But, boy, I mean, you can't have too many of those guys. And it seems like that's our problem here at SIU this year. But what's going to need to change, Joey, and who maybe could potentially emerge now that we have these big games this weekend versus St. Louis and Oklahoma State?
I think a name that we're going to probably see a lot more that I hadn't even really heard much about until very recently is Kennard Davis. He got one of his first couple starts recently. Go ahead.
3-star from Vashon High School. I think that's how you say it. Vashon is pretty highly acclaimed for a lot of their players. I was very happy to see that we got Kennard Davis. I'll let you continue. I just wanted to put that out there for the viewers.
No, you're totally right. I was talking to Jay Cruz before the podcast. He was telling me how high he was in Kennard Davis. So he seems to be a star that's going to be with this Saluki team as long as he doesn't transfer, of course. But you never know what's going to happen.
That stuff.
We just don't have a three-point shooter at all. You guys know me. I wasn't really a fan of Lance Jones last year and his three-point shooting skills. He was so erratic with that, but we literally don't have any three-point shooters at the moment. Right. We went 3 for 20 for three-point shots against Indiana State. I don't think that's very good. I'm not a basketball guy, but that doesn't sound very great to me. And we only shot 30% on field goals. So absolutely just unacceptable. The shots just weren't falling.
Right. And you'll have games like that. That's probably why the discrepancy was 30 points.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, for our first look at conference play, it's a little nerve-wracking as SIU fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so let's move on to women's basketball, where they had a loss to West Virginia. Once again, also wasn't very pretty. Lost 73-55. We now sit at 3-4. It's an interesting team, wouldn't you say? I mean, Joey, give me some thoughts, because I'm still having a lot of trouble figuring this team out.
So, I mean, in Puerto Rico, we had 2 wins over, and I'm trying to remember who it was against, but
George Mason was one, and I'm looking up the other now because I also forgot.
Right.
Not George Mason, George Washington. Excuse me.
Of course.
Yes.
But both of those wins, we only allowed 50 or so points. I don't know if I would have said that we could have had a game where we allowed only 50 or so points this season, because obviously their play style.
Charlotte was the other team.
Charlotte was the other team that we got to win.
And we beat both of them.
Of course. So, I mean, I like to see. It was a good thing to see that the defense is performing a lot better, at least over in Puerto Rico. I guess we'll just have to see. We have like a weird week off here now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably pretty telling, or pretty deserving with the trip that we just had over in Puerto Rico. Takes a little bit off you to go that far away, but. We'll play SIUE. They're not the greatest women's basketball schools, so hopefully we can show a little bit more of that defensive energy that we've been starting to get, at least from Puerto Rico, against a team like SIUE. And I don't think St. Louis is the greatest either women's basketball side. Maybe Jay Cruz might know more, but no.
We should win, honestly.
Yeah, both of those games.
Now, the only thing that's keeping us behind, and you saw this in this tournament, reason why we weren't able to score as much. Now, again, like you guys said, I am very pleased with the defense. I mean, how can you not be? Only allowing 52 and 55 points in both of the wins we got. But Shamira Williams and Jaden Mason, 2 ball handling, shot creating. Basically, the women's team is the opposite of the men's team. They have a ton of ball handlers. They have a ton of facilitators that can really get the ball running, and I wrote down here, I think it's pretty interesting. It's hard to play run and gun when your runners are not on the team, and losing them has hurt us in a lot of different ways. And in some ways, I think it's caused us to kind of come back and slow down and play a little bit more traditional style. But in the long run, that's not what Kelly wants to do. Obviously, it's not what the brand is. And so I think as we get closer and closer to conference play, it's going to be interesting to not only get those players back healthy, but also reinstall that. That intensity, with the Breakfast Club, as you guys, and we've talked about a lot here. But I honestly was still pretty impressed by the fact that we went 2-1 without them in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And shout out to Lanai Randall too. I mean, 25 points a game and 8 rebounds. I mean, that's ridiculous. And again, we just talked about it. Opposite of the men's team, she might just be that good this year. She might be that player who we can rely on, and in a lot of different ways too, whether it's the mid-range jumper, whether it's down on the block in the post. She's been incredible.
She is.
People who remember know that Cole Daly has been buying stock in Lanai Randall.
Yes, you have.
I've been sitting on that Lanai Randall stock, and it is finally paying out.
Yeah.
I'm a big Lanai Randall fan. I really, really like how she plays, and she's a classmate of ours. So
that's right.
Keep going, Lanai.
We just saw her this morning. She is her.
She is her.
She's her.
When she walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, is that Lanai Randall?
30-12 against West Virginia. Holy.
Man, that really
that's
is
outrageous.
Yeah, seriously.
Hopefully she doesn't transfer, which is obviously
Don't say that. You can't say that.
I know. I gotta keep. Last note that I want to make on the women's basketball team, because I've been thinking about, we keep talking about their play style because it's so signature, and who they really remind me the most of, and I'm gonna look to Jay Cruz only because we're college basketball heads, but they remind me of that Auburn team that lost to Virginia.
Yes.
Especially with Jade Mason and Shamira Williams, like they push the ball, they'll they play aggressive defense, but maybe not the best, but they at least play aggressive.
Yeah.
That's especially where Jade Mason shines. But, I really get flashbacks of that team.
It's what Fran McCaffrey and Iowa try to do, but they're not athletic enough to do it.
Exactly. That's also a very good way of putting it.
They can shoot. That's about it.
Exactly. So that catches us up with Dawgs of the Vet. Let's go ahead. Guys, it was an awesome college football weekend, and me and Jay Cruz got to talk about it. It was awesome for one of us. Alrighty, folks. I'm not even going to do an intro.
Okay.
Tell us about that game, Jay Cruz.
Come on, we have to get into it right now?
I want to hear about it right now. I want to hear about a little bit about it right now.
About the game?
The game.
And it delivered from an entertainment standpoint.
It sure did.
Like, if I wasn't a fan, I would have loved watching that game. The problem is, I am a fan. I did not enjoy watching that game. And look, for the final time this season, probably, we'll get into that later, but probably the final time this season, I'm just going to ask one question. How on earth did Ryan Day go recruit J.J. McCarthy, who, by the way, grew up as an Ohio State fan? People probably don't know about that. He said it himself, actually.
He did. He was like, I was an Ohio State fan.
How did he go recruit J.J. McCarthy and then go recruit Kyle McCord? Dang it.
It's all right.
Anyway, I'm going to start over. How did Ryan Day go recruit J.J. McCarthy, Michigan quarterback?
That's right.
How did he go recruit Kyle McCord, Ohio State quarterback, and say, I want the guy with little to no mobility, less arm strength, I guess the other reason I guess would be in favor of Kyle, but he paired Kyle with Marv, and they were high school teammates. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, what does Kyle McCord do better than J.J. McCarthy from a purely physical trait standpoint? Like, his deep ball's fine. I think he's a little bit more, like, overall accurate, but outside of that, nothing. And it showed in the game. The game was basically won and lost on McCord's first pick, right? That Will Johnson, I don't know, Marv either wasn't trying or I don't know what he was doing on that first.
That was a total force of a throw.
That was a bet.
That's on the quarterback.
I think it was on both of them, honestly. Marv didn't look like he just stopped his route for some reason, but it also was on Kyle to see that Will Johnson.
It was so covered.
That play never had a chance. Like, I remember watching it thinking, Will Johnson's in front of him, he better not force it, and he did.
Yeah.
And then J.J. McCarthy, I'm still not convinced that he's this incredible. He won quarterback of the year for, like, the Big Ten or whatever. He doesn't really do anything that, like,
winning quarterback of the year in the Big Ten is like winning.
Well,
I'm not gonna. Never mind.
Honestly, the best quarterback in the Big Ten, and this can be debated, of course, probably Talia Tagovailoa. Honestly, given his team, and like, he throws a lot of picks, but in terms of talent, I think it might be him.
It probably is.
Regardless,
yeah.
J.J. McCarthy made a ton of just weird, off balance, like broken play kind of throws,
like, slung it across.
And Cornelius Johnson was the only guy he was throwing to. Somehow he held on to every, like, it wasn't even like it was a perfect throw. I don't know.
It was a good game for Michigan.
It was like they just made every single play that they needed to make.
That's a great way of putting it.
And Ohio State just didn't make that one play that we needed to make. And despite all of that, we still had the ball at like the 30-yard line or 35-yard line with a chance to win the game. And so that's what I would say, and it sucks, obviously, but I don't know. After thinking about it for a few days, I don't know. I think they truly do. They own us. And I never thought I would actually get myself to say those words, but Michigan owns us. And
the good news is it won't last long. Jim Harbaugh's gone after this.
Well, probably. And I think the reason we have been losing these last few years is because whether or not people like it, whether or not people want to admit that it's actually part of the game, Michigan has a psycho as a head coach.
They do.
And they care about whipping us. They care about beating us. We don't have a psycho as a head coach that can motivate players in ways that don't even, they aren't even right. They aren't even factually correct. Like, Michigan has taken this scandal in which they were incredibly wrong in every single way about, and they're going to get sanctions, they're going to get vacated wins. But they use that as fuel to motivate themselves and basically gaslight themselves into believing this Michigan versus everybody thing. And Ohio State, I've heard reports that, like, nobody was really, like, getting excited about the game. Like, they just don't really have that killer mentality that we had when Urban Meyer was head coach. Mm-hmm. There's also just no big vocal leaders. And the last thing I'll say, and then we can move on because I'm done talking about this.
No. It's an important
You look at the rosters, Ohio State, they're still more talented. I don't think that's not an arguable point. But Michigan is a lot of 4th, 5th, and even 6th-year guys that have been there for a really, really long time. They care about the school, and they just have that dog in them. Mm-hmm. And Ohio State, while they're still more talented, while we're going to put more NFL players in the draft, we're young, and we just don't have the kind of culture and leadership that Michigan does. And I still think that in a playoff, we would stand a better chance of winning. But ultimately, you have to get to the playoff, and you have to beat that team. And we didn't. And that's all there is to say about it. I'm hurt. I'm still hurt about it. Not as hurt as I was about Georgia last year, believe it or not. Because I guess, it was a playoff game, and we were probably going to win the national championship. But
right.
It sucks. It sucks. And now we're going to need an absolute miracle to happen this weekend in order to backdoor into the playoff again and probably get whipped by Georgia.
If you guys make the playoff, I'm not coming on the show. I quit. I quit talking about college football.
Well,
we have a lot to talk about.
Tell us how it may happen, or may or may not happen.
I'm going to shoot one more back at you.
Okay.
Do you guys thank you, because when I said it the last time,
I didn't spike it. Yeah.
When you guys, with your quarterback situation, because
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of Ohio State fans are unhappy with Kyle McCord.
People are already moving on.
Do you hit the transfer portal, give Devin Brown a shot, or do you give freshman Aaron Nolan a chance?
I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. Like, I think if a guy like Cam Ward, who's going to transfer out, if a guy like him would actually want to come here,
that's a good fit
I think
for
you go
Ohio
with
State.
him. But the problem is we've got a crazy talented quarterback room that there's a lot of teams across the country that are going to get some really good quarterbacks over the next couple of years because they're going to transfer.
Right.
Devin Brown's probably gone, unfortunately, and which is weird because
thank God.
Which is weird.
You were
because
33 as a quarterback. I'll never get over that.
Okay,
Joey's looking at me back there. I'll never get over it.
you didn't like Doug Flutie, number 22 either in Boston College.
I think 20s are different. You're wearing 30s, dude.
Shea Patterson was number 20 at Ole Miss. Do you remember that?
Was he really?
Yeah, he was.
Boy, do I hate that.
Either way, I literally have no idea what happens, and I trust Ryan Day on that front. But Ohio State needs a culture change, and Ryan Day earlier in the year, he was seemed like he was morphing into that, like I call it psychopath. I don't know what other word to use. Sorry, but when he was yelling at Lou Holtz and saying we're proud to be from Ohio, even though he's from New Hampshire.
Right.
It's like it looked like he was morphing into that, but that's just not who he is. He doesn't have the ability to motivate guys like that. And so, if there was a world where he were to move on potentially to the NFL,
I think that's where he belongs. I think he belongs in the NFL.
Him and Jim Harbaugh are weirdly both NFL guys. But the problem is, when it comes to them playing each other in college, obviously Jim Harbaugh has those Michigan ties. He's a Michigan man. Ryan Day is just not. He's just not that guy in terms of passion, in terms of motivation. He's just not that guy.
I think Ryan would work really well in the NFL.
Yeah.
Whether it be as a coordinator, I don't think you leave head coach of college football for an offensive coordinator job.
No.
But
Definitely not.
But I just think that's his spot. I agree. I really don't think that he's that good of a college coach. I just don't.
So
I know his record's great, but
yeah.
who's he played? That's all I'm just going to.
I mean, his record is ridiculous. His record's better than Urban Meyer's was, but they're not winning the game.
Base.
No, he's taken. It's a topic for another day.
Right.
What I was going to say, and let's move on.
No.
That a guy who I think would be perfect as Ohio State's next head coach is Brian Hartline, who is currently our offensive coordinator. And you see him; he's got the passion.
I like Brian Hartline.
He hates the team up north. He obviously played at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And he said before that the only places he wants to coach are the best places in the country and or the NFL. And I think if Ryan ever moves on, which he definitely will probably in the next few years, Brian Hartline's a perfect candidate to take over. Because I don't think
he could still recruit.
Like we could go out and we could get like Dan Lanning or something, but it just it means something to have an Ohio guy coach at Ohio State, to have a Michigan man coach at Michigan. Mm-hmm. And this rivalry, that's the truth. Yeah. It doesn't matter who else they play. In this rivalry, that's what matters. There's this stat out there that's like Ohio-born Ohio State coaches. Urban Meyer's one of them. Jim Tressel, 38-17 in the Michigan rivalry. Non-Ohio-born coaches are like 3-13. Ridiculous.
Interesting. Well, I guess so.
It's bad, but that's just how it is, man. It's just different. That's why it's the best rivalry in college football.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I like Brian Hartline. I like him a lot. That's what I feel bad about. Is because the only thing making me not like Ohio State is Ryan Day. If Ryan Day leaves, I would become more of a Ryan Day.
I don't understand why he's that unlikable. It's not like he really does much, does he?
I think that's his problem. I think
maybe so. Maybe
he's just he's praised for being
He is an offensive genius.
We'll talk about another day.
Yeah, sorry.
This could be a 45.
I didn't want you to ask me about
this.
No,
I did. It was my. I'm not blaming you. I love listening to your opinions, Jake Cruz.
Thanks.
Let's break into this game. I don't even want to start with that one, but I think I have to because all these other. No, you know what? I'm going to start at this number 4 spot. You folks can't really read this all that well.
I wrote it.
You wrote it so small.
I have so much information on there. I tried to pack it in with as much detail as possible with rankings and spreads and. Sorry.
It's all good.
It's all right. I've had a rough weekend.
You have it's okay, Jakers. It's okay. We're going to talk about the Big Ten championship first.
Okay.
Iowa versus Michigan. Let's keep it short and sweet. Michigan. I mean, I think
not in doubt.
I think it would be really funny because Iowa has a chance. They do have a chance, but Iowa's defense is very, very good. Yeah. But that being said, their offense just isn't enough to beat Michigan, right? There's no way.
This is going to be like 20.
There would need to be 2 pick sixes for Iowa to have a chance.
To even have a chance.
Even have a chance.
And even then, they'd probably still lose by 3.
Exactly. So, we're going with that right there.
I love how you just try to perfectly outline it.
I'm trying. I'm trying for the folks at home. Okay. Let's go with this one. Oregon versus Washington. Assuming whatever team wins this game.
Oh, I have a stat, by the way. I completely forgot about that.
Please.
Sorry.
Sorry. It was
my
just
computer
such a...
turned off, and I have the stats written down here.
Right.
Going back to 2010, Iowa is actually the worst team in the Big Ten when playing with a rest advantage. Think about that for a second.
Wow.
That's a lot to take in.
On,
They're
Kirk.
the worst team in the Big Ten with playing with an advantage. You would think that would help, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're 11-16-1 against the spread. And they're underdogs by 21.5 in this game. I actually would probably take them because I think that Michigan's going to win like 17-0 or 21-0. But yeah,
Right.
that's kind of a crazy stat.
It sure is. I'm taking Michigan. In this one.
Take Michigan.
I'm taking Michigan. Let's move on. Oregon, Washington. Winner of this game probably moves on to the playoff.
Most definitely.
Let's start with here. Which team do you think's better? Like, just better team. Neutral site field. Like
Oregon.
this game.
Oregon is not particularly close.
You
And
think
Vegas
Oregon's gonna
agrees
win
with
this
me because they are 9.5-point favorites.
Which I feel
which
is
is
ridiculous.
wild.
I feel that's ridiculous.
Because Washington, when they played in Washington was favored by like 2 or 3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
It really is interesting.
Very interesting.
I think that's a little too high. I mean, I've been very public on this podcast. I'm a Washington guy.
You are a Washington guy.
But I'm going with Oregon in this one.
Yeah.
I think Oregon comes away with the victory. I think that I have talked a multitude of times about how much I love Dan Lanning and how much I like Bo Nix, how they run their offense. I mean, Bucky Irving's one of my favorites.
Yep.
I think this is where Washington falls. And I think Washington, it'll be fun to watch whatever game that they play.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it won't, though, because they have a lot of NFL talent. So Romeo Dunze's probably sitting out.
They may sit out, yeah.
Penix is sitting out.
Yeah.
Is Sam Huard still at Washington? Is he the
Who?
backup? Sam
Quarterback?
I think yeah, Sam Huard.
Oh, I have literally no idea.
He was the number 1 quarterback in the class for Washington. He committed there, but then Michael Penix went, and we just haven't seen anything from
Is
him.
he related to Brock Huard, the guy who's like the color announcer?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I don't know.
But nevertheless, maybe we'll see some of him.
Maybe
see
so.
some of the number 1
Yeah.
quarterback that I haven't heard of in
Yeah.
so long.
When Dan Lanning wins, when he's favored, he wins. As they always say, good teams win, great teams cover. He's 17-5 against the spread as a favorite all time at Oregon. The dude just crushes.
I really
Dude
like
crushes.
Dan Lanning. I really like
Young
Dan
Urban
Lanning.
Meyer. I said it in the last podcast.
Right. There is not a whole lot to dislike about Dan Lanning. Okay. Oklahoma State versus Texas. Boy, do I
Please.
hope that we win. We need to win. And not only do we need to win, we need to win like 20.
Yeah,
We need to win by like 15. Now, granted, I'm looking at that.
the spread is. Yeah,
And that is an egregious spread. That is an egregious spread.
It's huge.
Oklahoma State probably covers, which I hate to say. But they might be factoring in because Texas, the fact that I don't even want to get into it, but the fact that we were number 7 is ridiculous.
I think they're in regardless.
What do you mean?
Like they're going to make the playoff regardless if they win. If they win, they're going to be in the playoff.
Oh, you think?
Yes.
We can talk about.
Yeah.
I hope. Is that what you're
We'll
saying?
get to that
You're right.
after
That's what I
picks.
figured. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and circle Texas though. I think Texas wins. I'm actually really happy that we get Oklahoma State. Not that I'm afraid of Oklahoma, but I'm a little afraid of Oklahoma because
Yeah.
just the style
Yeah.
of how they play, and they've just got our number. But I think it's all Texas, and we've been so good against the run this year, and that is where obviously they have Ollie Gordon,
Yeah.
who is an incredible running back for
Yeah.
Oklahoma State. But yeah, I think this is Texas's game to lose, and
I agree.
boy oh boy, will I be just in a puddle of tears if they lose this game this Saturday. Okay,
You know that Mike Gundy is a spread demigod.
we do know that he's a
course.
spread demigod,
He is 20-11.
but he's been pretty bad this year when it comes down to it.
Yeah, in some cases, yes. By the way, we need to talk about how close we were to a Texas OU rematch.
Oh, I know.
The fact that BYU blew that 24-6 lead over Oklahoma State, it makes me think Texas should crush them. But every time we get in this scenario, it's either way closer than it should be or they outright lose.
Yep.
So,
But not this year. This year's been different.
Has it been different?
It's been different.
Barely.
We came back against Oklahoma where we started off horribly. We obviously
And
maintained
lost.
that lead over Alabama. Don't worry about it. That was
Beat
a
TCU
close
by
game.
3, beat Houston by 7.
TCU was a... Listen, this team's hungry right now. All right? I'm telling you, I feel like this is a different team. We still win the games.
I guess.
Don't act like we're like
I get-
Washington.
that is a
like
difference.
Washington is kind of a pretender.
Well, we're going to find out. Like I said, Mike Gundy's a spread demigod.
Go ahead, yeah.
He's 20-11 against the spread when his team is at a rest disadvantage. We've had two like counterintuitive, or not counterintuitive. What's the word?
That sound. I don't know.
There's not
the
what
folks
they
at home
should
get
be.
what you're saying.
If you're at a disadvantage, you figured that would make you worse, right? Well, he's
Right.
2011 when his team has a rest disadvantage. I guess it's rest versus rust, and it's the best in the Big 12 since he became a head coach.
Wow.
Yeah,
Still taking Texas.
Crazy
in the
stuff.
front. I don't know about the spread. That makes me nervous.
yeah. Texas is gonna win the game.
Yeah.
They're gonna win the game, and they're gonna go to the playoff.
Oh boy! Don't say that.
Hook 'em.
Don't say that. Don't
Hook
get my
'em,
hopes
baby.
up.
I almost wore my Texas shirt today.
Okay, next game. We're gonna start with Georgia and Alabama. Jay Cruz, I mean, is there anything that you wanted to preface this? Do you think Alabama has a chance over?
Oh,
the 29?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do.
You were the one you were hating on Bama this entire
Well,
year. And I kept telling you, I said it's Bama. I said it's Bama, Jay Cruz. And
Well,
you go, I don't know. Texas A&M's pretty
I
good this
still
year.
don't know that they're very they're clearly probably the worst Bama team Nick Saban's had since 2008. But that's still pretty good.
Still pretty good
And
team.
should they have lost to Auburn? Absolutely. And Auburn's terrible.
Auburn's terrible.
Now,
And
with
was
that
the
being
worst-
said,
we
we
can't even talk about that.
what is Georgia's strength as an offense? Believe it or not, it's the pass game this year. It's not the run game.
It is not
Their
the run
run game is average at best.
Yep.
What's Georgia's one small weakness on defense? The ability to stop the run.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn ran on them, right?
Sure did.
Georgia Tech had an all right day on offense against them.
Sure did.
Was another team that they played that kind of ran on them.
Well, no.
They did for a quarter. Well, almost
they
did for a quarter.
That's
But
what I was
regardless,
thinking of.
we've seen teams run on Georgia. We've also seen teams
Mizzou.
run. Mizzou.
Yes.
Cody Schrader went off for almost 200 yards, I think, in that game.
That's right.
We've seen teams run on Bama as well, but again, Georgia doesn't really run it that well this year. So in terms of matchups, I think it's a great matchup for Alabama. I think they could win the game. I wouldn't pick them outright to win. I'm just saying it could happen. Now, Kirby Smart, obviously he's been doing nothing but winning over the last few years.
That's right. Give me the stat, baby.
He loves playing at neutral sites.
He-
However, and I'll give the stat first. He's 18-8 against the spread when playing at neutral sites. However,
Say it.
9 of the last 15 neutral site
Yep.
games for Georgia
Yep.
have been
I was-
played in Atlanta. That's not a neutral site
About
game.
an hour away from Athens.
Literally an hour away. So they're not really neutral site. They get lucky and have home games all the time. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. Like
That's
that Oregon
outrageous.
game was hilarious. They were
The-
like,
the Peach-
neutral site, Georgia beats Oregon, and it was in
The
Atlanta.
Peach Bowl against Ohio State last year was
Yep.
in Atlanta.
Yep.
The SEC championship game every year in Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
I just.
It's a huge
It is what it is. You can't do anything to change it. But the fact that they get to play neutral site games an hour away, they have 70% of the stadium as their fans. That's a home game. That's a Georgia home game.
Right. It sure is. And because of that, I'm taking. Would this be their 30th straight win? I think they're at 29 right
Yeah.
now.
Getting close to the
I don't know
longest
if
ever.
I'm picking them to win the national championship, but I got them winning this game. What I do worry about is the lack of, because what do we know about sports as a whole? Who's motivated right now? Alabama.
Bama,
Because they've
for
got
sure.
the one loss. Georgia's like, we'd probably still get in the playoff even if we lose this game.
Yeah.
Which, boy, would I hate. Boy, would I really despise. Let's get to this last game right here. Now, you said you think Texas is making the playoff, and that
I do
interests
think
me.
Texas is making the playoff.
Does it have anything to do with what you feel the outcome of this game might be?
No.
Oh, really?
It doesn't affect it at all. No.
Interesting. Because I know you're a big Pate State guy.
Josh Pate?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out.
Shout
Late
out
kick.
Josh Pate. Late kick.
Shout out Meemaw.
Very good show. And I know I am familiar that he picked Louisville in this game,
Yeah.
which surprised me. Do you say Louisville or Louisville?
I mean, I want to say Louisville, but everyone I know says it's Louisville, where you don't
Okay.
pronounce any of the vowels. You go
well,
Louisville.
all right. Well, I'm
Yeah.
2 feet from you, so
Louisville.
it's Louisville.
Louisville. Okay, sorry.
Isn't that how they?
They say it Louisville, and in Louisville they say Louisville.
In Louisville, they say Louisville.
They say screw the vowels.
Okay.
Anyway,
This is honestly the toughest game for me to pick because I think
Yes.
Louisville has a chance.
the 2-point spread as well. 2.5-point spread.
Right. But boy, that Kentucky game didn't look great.
That was bad.
It's pretty bad.
That was really bad.
But they might have a little more fight in them because
Looking
of
ahead.
that. That's right. Might be looking ahead. So,
Yeah.
because that game doesn't matter.
No.
I mean,
it
talk about being a
matters,
rivalry, but like,
yeah.
they're not in the same conference. It's
Yeah.
not really that much.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jay Cruz. Give me a stat to maybe help me.
I do have a stat for you here, Cole, and it's crazy. Not really crazy, actually. Why did I say that? I didn't mean to say that. It's about Jeff Brom. And when he was
Purdue
at
boy.
Purdue
Uh-huh.
from 2017 to 2022, he was the best in the Big Ten against the spread versus ranked opponents. And he's
I can believe that.
And he's 1-0 this year. Now, when the stat information site that I get it from, I guess they're only considering Notre Dame as the ranked opponent because they beat Duke when Duke was ranked, but they're not ranked anymore.
Okay.
So I guess they're only just counting the Notre Dame as a ranked win. But against ranked teams, Jeff Brom shows up.
Sure does.
He's a 2.5-point dog here. As an Ohio State fan, I need Louisville to win.
I need Louisville
It's
to
very,
win.
very
I need
possible.
Louisville to win
But
so
I do
bad.
have to say I am impressed with Tate Rodemaker, what he did going into the Swamp in a game that they were down 12-0.
He looked awful in the first
He looked
half.
awful, but they won the game, and I was honestly surprised that he even did that.
Right.
So I got to give him some credit. They've still got the playmakers. Everyone else is still there. We haven't had a podcast since Jordan Travis's injury, but that just really sucks.
That does really
It
suck.
really, really sucks because Florida State was a team that could have been like America's darling for the playoffs. Unfortunately, they may not even make it anymore if they can't beat Louisville. But Tate Rodemaker, it is.
I hope that Louisville gets the doors kicked off of them. I am.
But you're picking them.
Oh wait, no, sorry, Florida State. I said the wrong team.
I hope.
Sorry, guys.
Wait, maybe that's a sign.
My mind is all. Don't say that.
That's a sign.
Don't say that.
Louisville's gonna win.
I hope so. Boy, do I hope so because I am the biggest Louisville fan.
Oh wait, so you are picking Louisville?
I am picking
Oh,
Louisville.
but you just misspoke.
I misspoke.
Oh, okay. I
Yes.
thought you miscircled.
No. I misspoke. I am the biggest Louisville fan in the country for this next week because I think they reward Florida State because they went undefeated in the season and an ACC championship. In theory, is enough. Granted, I think the ACC isn't very good. I think Florida State, a 1-4 Florida State where they would play Georgia matchup, where Tate Rodemaker is the quarterback. Say what you will about him beating the Florida Gators, but I mean, if everybody in America wants to watch an 84-0 Georgia victory, then go ahead, put Florida State in the playoff. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get flustered about this.
Florida State would. The thing about Georgia, if you watch every one of their games this year, the other team scores a touchdown on their first drive every single time. They're down 7-0 every single game.
That is true, but I don't think it's the case with Florida State. I think
it would probably happen, but they'd still get blown.
I think Mizzou beats Florida State today.
I agree. Oh yeah, that's not a hot take.
I know,
That's
and
not
that's
a hot
why I
take.
don't want them in the playoff. I think that
Yeah.
I've been preaching it for the past 2 weeks.
They're gonna get. Oh my God, they're gonna get crushed. They're gonna get crushed.
It would be bad for college football fans.
They're gonna get demolished.
It would suck. It would be the worst thing.
The world needs Louisville to win this game.
The world needs Louisville to win this game.
Yeah.
Because I think that the best matchup. I'll wait. I have a feeling that this is what your segment is. So let's just.
Okay.
What is your segment for me, Jay Cruz? What
Yeah,
question do
so
you have
one
for
thing I just wanted to ask before we get to my segment is, so given your predictions,
Mm-hmm.
the playoff would be Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4. So we'd get Georgia, Texas,
That's what it should be.
Georgia, Texas, and
But
Bama, Oregon.
we've seen that the committee isn't the best at making these decisions.
We have seen that, but I think that
if
would
your
be...
Ohio State Buckeyes get in over my Big 12 championship, Texas Longhorns,
No, that's not going to happen.
I don't know if we.
No. If Texas beats Oklahoma State, they're
Why
going
is
to jump
Why is
Ohio
OSU
State.
number 6 then? Right now.
Oh, right now our resume is better, and in terms of game control, strength of schedule, strength of record, like in the only thing you guys have over us is one win over Bama. Everything else, we are better than you guys.
So you're telling me a true road game where we won by double digits against one of the greatest football dynasties of all time? That's just
Against the worst version of that dynasty, sure, yeah. Against a team that needed a miracle to beat Auburn, yes, correct.
Well, they've needed a miracle to beat Auburn. Actually,
Yeah.
like the past couple of years. Like,
Yeah,
remember when
they
the
have.
Bryce Young team almost lost?
Yeah. Anyway,
Who'd you guys beat? Notre Dame? They're not even ranked anymore.
Notre Dame at Notre Dame, we beat a top 10 team in Penn State as well.
Don't even with
They're
that.
ranked in the top 10.
Don't even with that.
I'm not saying that they are a top 10
Penn State
team,
is
but they
awful. They are awful.
I'm not saying they're good, but I'm telling you that based on the committee's rankings.
Oh my god. Okay.
But if they beat Oklahoma State, they can and will hop us.
They should.
They're going to. I have no.
Dude.
I have no. That's
Dude.
gonna. They're not gonna put us
But
in
think about
over
how much
a 12-1
the
conference
loves,
champion.
The committee loves Ohio State.
They
so
love
much.
Texas too.
No, they clearly they don't.
They have them over Bama still. That's how
we're-
much they
Texas
love them.
were such
They love Bama
obviously
more
they're
than
not.
they love their own children, probably.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, Georgia, Texas.
Yeah. That's
Georgia,
right.
Texas.
It's getting hostile.
Georgia, Texas. Heck of a matchup.
That's what I'm saying.
Michigan, Oregon,
Right?
heck of a match.
That is an awesome playoff. And if Florida State wins, it ruins it all.
Yeah, because they're not going to. They
would-
but
they
they're
would
not going to
put-
put Texas in over Florida State.
Exactly.
They would probably. I bet you they would hop Oregon over them. But
Totally.
they would hop Oregon over and put Michigan,
and I guess
Oregon.
that's still a good game.
Which I hate to say it, but like Michigan, Oregon, Rose Bowl, Pac-12 versus
awesome.
Big Ten champion. That would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be the first time since the Rose Bowl's been a playoff game that a Big Ten team has played in it, which is kind of a big deal because obviously, typically, the Big Ten champion would go to the Rose Bowl.
Exactly.
So anyway, the segment, right?
Let's get
This has been a chaotic and long college
really
football
has
segment,
been.
but we've
Really.
been off for a couple weeks.
It's been important.
Rivalry week was incredible.
This is important, right?
So I said we would do this a couple weeks ago. I figured now would be a perfect time to get to it. I'll look back to a segment we did in late September, right? There were some teams that were 5-0, 4-1-ish.
Oh, boy.
And we thought, you know what? Which of these teams do you think has the best chance to stay winning?
Mm-hmm.
Or which team do you think is going to fall off? Mm-hmm. Well, newsflash: all these teams finished with 2 or more losses. Let's go through the list, right? So the first team I had was Maryland,
Oh, boy.
and they were 5-0 at the time.
They
Remember?
were. They sure were.
And they hosted Michigan and Penn State, and then they went on the road at Ohio State. Well, they almost beat Michigan. They were very close to beating Michigan.
They were.
They were
played a
beating
tough game.
Ohio State by
Okay.
7 in the third quarter, but we ended up pulling away. And Penn State, weirdly, was the team that crushed them.
Yeah.
Like 51-14.
Which doesn't make any sense. But
Maryland ended up going 7-5, right? 7-5,
Yeah,
something like that.
7-5,
They really
yeah.
they lost to Illinois and Northwestern. Like
Would've thought that.
they fell off really, really bad. The team on this list that I think would be ranked number 2 right now of these teams is obviously Louisville, who ended up beating every team they should have beaten except for their rival Kentucky and Pitt. They lost the two games that were big. They lost the 2 that I didn't think had any chance of losing.
Yeah, me too.
They beat Miami. They crushed Notre Dame, obviously, and they crushed Duke. They ended up 10-2. Again, a great season for them still.
Absolutely. I like Jeff Brom a lot.
Top 15 ranked team, going to the ACC championship game, a game that you picked them to win. So congratulations.
It's more of a hope than
Shout out to my roommate Jackson, who is from Louisville and is a Louisville fan. So he's pretty pumped.
That's awesome.
Next team I have on here, I think another darling of America, Drake May and the North Carolina Tar Heels. They had Miami and Duke at home, and then at Clemson. Do you remember what you said? What you thought about this team? I don't think you thought they were that great, honestly.
I
think you've been out on them as a team. Now you're obviously a big Drake May guy, but
big Drake May guy. Yeah, it's impressive that they have as much talent as they do.
Yeah.
Or at least they're just so like pretenders. I figured they'd lose 2 of those games, and I bet you they did. Did they not? Or maybe they
did
all
lose
3.
2 of those games.
Yeah.
No, they went 2-1 actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the problem is they lost to NC State. And who else
Georgia
did-
Tech.
Georgia Tech.
That was a crazy.
They beat Miami, I think, the week of this, and I was like, you know what, North Carolina, they might be legit. And
They were top 10 at the time. They were like
yeah, they were. They were
10.
number 10. And then talk about a fall from grace. They did beat Duke, and then they lost at Clemson, like 31-20. It was never particularly close.
Right.
Next team, Washington State, another just.
That one really went off the rails.
They almost beat Washington, but in their games against Oregon and at UCLA, wasn't particularly close. So, Miami. Now, this was the team that you said had the best chance at going undefeated.
Which I can't.
And
believe I said that.
another team that lost to Georgia Tech on one of the dumber.
Dumbest.
I mean, come on, serious. Elementary kids could do that. Could have made that decision. They lost at North Carolina. They did beat Clemson with a backup quarterback too. Did they just bench Tyler Van Dyke or something? Because he was throwing a lot of picks.
I think it was one of those things where he was playing bad and he was struggling with an injury at the time a little bit.
Yeah.
So they just kind of were like, just rest him basically.
Yeah.
But it was almost like anyways, continue.
So Miami, they ended up going 1-3 in their big games the rest of this season. And they lost to North Carolina, of course, and then they beat Clemson surprisingly. When Clemson was kind of sort of finding their footing-ish toward the end of the season, they did lose at Florida State, and then they just lost to Louisville a couple weeks ago. They probably should have beaten Louisville, honestly, but that's just the magic the Cardinals had this year. Miami, the team you thought that would go 12, or you didn't think they would go 12-0, but you thought they had the best chance of these teams to go 12-0, and they certainly did not. Kentucky was actually on this list, believe it or not. They were 5-0. That week they were playing Georgia, and it was after they beat Florida. Ray Davis ran for like 280 yards on Florida.
Right.
And they lost to Georgia. They did beat Louisville, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Missouri, Tennessee, and Bama. None of those games, except for Tennessee, were particularly close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a disappointing end, I guess, to the season for Kentucky. I mean, they were underdogs in all those games, so it's not like they were supposed to win. But I think it was just interesting how they fell off so quickly. And then finally, the MVP of this list.
Absolutely.
Shout out to the Missouri Tigers, who ended up going 10-2. They did lose to LSU, which imagine if they would have hung on in that game, by the way, what we'd be talking about right now.
Right.
They did beat Tennessee, crushed Tennessee. And then they played Georgia really, really well, better than any other team besides Georgia Tech has this season, and Auburn, I guess. And then they did crush Kentucky, like I mentioned. So shout out to Mizzou. They ended up going 10-2, crushed Arkansas in the final week of the season. They're going to make a New Year's Six bowl game for the first time since, I think, was it Matty Mock? Matt Mock.
It was a while
It's
ago.
been a minute. So, yeah, shout out to Mizzou. And
Shout out to Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah. Which one of those surprised you the most in terms of maybe good or bad?
Well, I guess it depends on when you're asking me. Because I didn't buy Mizzou at this time.
Yeah.
I was not I was like, Brady Cook's all right. He's probably talked about it a little bit too much. I am a huge Mizzou guy, like Mizzou buyer right now. I think that they're awesome. It honestly is a shame that we won't get to see them in the playoffs because I think they're really, really good. I think Theo Weiss. I like Luther Burden. Obviously, he's the star. Cody Schrader.
Dog.
Brady Cook. I mean, they're all real legit guys. But a New York Six Bowl is going to be really, really awesome for that program. And I hope it's a good sign because football is good when Missouri's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like I love when a team like that emerges. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And kind of steps up to the plate.
Yeah.
So, but I don't. That was really the only team that really has kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the bigger fans of Mizzou in the country, but
Yeah. I'd agree with you. And Luther Burden's got one more year. I bet he stays. And
you think he stays?
Yeah, he'll probably stay.
There's no way.
Why would he transfer? They're a top 10 team, for
Not
goodness
transfer,
sakes.
go to the league.
No, he's a sophomore this year, I thought.
I think he's a junior.
Check that. But if he is a sophomore, I can see Missouri getting a lot of the top transfers because they're only a couple pieces away from being a legit playoff contender. As crazy as that is to say.
True. No,
as
you're
crazy
right.
as it is to say, they are. They're really killing it in recruiting as well.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Missouri. Shout out to Eli Drinkwitz.
Don't they have the number one recruit in the class of 2024?
Yeah, Williams Nweir. He's like a D lineman.
Yeah, D lineman.
Yeah, he's.
When
They got some
I saw that,
studs.
I was like, what?
They've got some studs.
They really do.
Shout out. My brother might go to college there. So that'd be
My
cool.
cousin goes to college there.
If
Shout
he-
out Braden Dietz.
If he does, I'm gonna have to find a way to get up there
Yeah.
to watch Luther Burden play because
Ooh,
that's
that would be awesome.
anyway.
Anyways,
Take us out of this college football segment that has been long, chaotic.
here's the
terrible.
thing, fans at home. Yeah, it's been very long. Poor Joey B behind the camera. Here's all I'll say: if you're a true college football fan, what you're rooting for
Yeah,
is a Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, Texas playoff.
yeah,
So root your heart out for what I have illustrated right here. I think that if this happens, there is no way that the playoff should be anything other than that.
yeah,
Would you agree with that? I mean, I feel like.
yeah. That's fine.
Do you think your Buckeyes should make it?
No.
Even though they're not making a
No,
conference
the only way.
championship?
That's what I was gonna say. The only way they make it is if
Texas
the Pac-12
loses.
game doesn't matter. Texas loses. UGA has to beat Bama.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan has to win, and Louisville has to beat Florida State. It's probably not likely that all that happens, but we've seen crazier things happen before.
Absolutely.
Last year they had USC lose to Utah, which got us in. TCU lost to Kansas State. So, crazier things have happened.
That is the one annoying thing is I feel like there's so many good one-loss teams this year.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
it's making Texas
like we are a playoff team, but I mean you have to win your most important games, and we didn't do it. So that's what it is.
Exactly. That's spoken like
Yeah.
a true good sport.
Thank you.
Let's move on to NFL, folks. It's been
Yeah.
enough of us.
Week 13. That sucks, man. 13 already.
Yeah, it's terrible.
We've only got 6
It's-
weeks left of the NFL season, but the playoffs are long, so it's a little bit different than college, right? You get games every single weekend for the rest of the season
until February.
until February. So we've still got a ton of football left, and I cannot wait to get into it. There's been a lot that's happened the last couple of weeks since we've been gone. We always like to start with our state of the team. Let's do that here. The Packers are in the slate, if you can see over there, so we'll wait for Joey because it's been a good couple of weeks for Joey. But let's start with state of the team, and both me and Cole's teams went 1-1 over the last couple of weeks, and since his team technically beat mine, I'll go ahead and let him go first. Cole, last couple of weeks of Lions football haven't necessarily been the greatest, even though they did beat the Bears.
Absolutely not.
But that Thanksgiving game was not pleasant.
It certainly wasn't. It was a turnover. It was basically our game against the Packers earlier this year, but it flipped. Because if you remember that game, Jordan Love had like 3 awful turnovers very early. Jared Goff returned the favor.
Yeah.
That stupid waxing gibbous.
Yeah, what a great stat.
The moon. It's just, we just can't seem to get a win. Like I mean, I'm probably the most like tempered Lions fan out there. This team is not like making a Super Bowl. We could.
Really?
No. Like we don't have a chance.
Were you saying that a couple weeks ago? That
No.
You think they should win?
No, I said that they might get a 1 seed because we have a very easy schedule the rest of the way. But like this is a game that I totally expected to happen. Was I distraught during my Thanksgiving meal? Yes. Were you two not helping? Yes.
We were blowing up the group chat.
Just Lions are frauds. Which made me so mad because I haven't been like the Lions are going to go all the way. They're going to like.
Yeah,
I know what this team is.
That's true.
We have a bad defense. Why we lost the Packers?
Yes.
But it's been a nice year.
It has been.
It's been a nice year. I like rooting for this team. It's a fun team to watch.
Do they win a playoff game?
Depends on the matchup. If we face the Falcons,
yes,
right?
Well, I
that'd
think
be cool.
The most likely
round.
spot is the number 2 seed.
2 or 3,
right? 2 or 3, and you'd face the number 7 seed, which could be the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, well, don't get too ahead of yourself.
God, that would be the worst day of my life.
Don't get too ahead of yourself. If we play the Packers, we probably would win. We probably would win the 3rd game.
Now, how concerning is the fact that Jared Goff has 7 turnovers the last couple of weeks? Because the Bears picked him off 4 times and still lost, or 3 times and still lost.
It was 3, and then he had 4 turnovers against the Packers, I believe. And I'm not going to say it's not concerning, because, boy, 2 of those fumbles against the Packers were
bad.
Embarrassing fumbles.
Very embarrassing.
Obviously, it's not a good thing, but it's not the end of the world, really, to me. I think Jared Goff is still a really, really good quarterback. I think Ben Johnson's still a really, really good offensive coordinator. They were bad fumbles, and he's got to do better, but, I don't know. He's been a really consistent and good quarterback for us. He still led the game-winning drive against the Bears, which I don't know if it's that's, I don't think he deserves a medal for that because he was kind of the reason we were in that position anyways. But he's a good QB, and I'm telling you, it's the moon.
It's the moon.
It's really all it is. So, Jay Curtis told me about your Bears.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. We won the game that was the ugliest, disgusting.
Probably the ugliest win I've ever seen.
I was about to say we shouldn't have won that game. No, we should have won that game. We dominated. We dominated the first 90% of each of the last 2 games, and the Lions won. Again, I won't spend too much time on it because it's in the past, very much in the past now. But that was a Matt Eberflus is cooked. That was a Matt Eberflus is fired game. Seriously, 22 of the Lions' 29 offensive points, because I got a safety as well, but 22 of the 29 Lions' offensive points came with under 4 minutes in each half. So that was 4 minutes left in the second half, and then the 4 minutes left in the game overall.
That's right.
In the fourth quarter. That's just bad coaching. I mean, I saw a tweet yesterday that I thought, or a post, whatever, that I thought was pretty interesting. Prevent defense only prevents wins.
Yeah. Because you play scared. That's what it looks like.
Basically. And the Lions all game could not move the ball on us. We were playing so well on defense. But as soon as it was a 2-minute situation or 4-minute offense situation, they were able to just go up and down the field at will, basically. And in terms of the defense, again, I'm a blame the coach guy, as Cole likes to remind me often. And it's true. I think coaching is a little bit more important in terms of game flow. Game managing, coaching is what wins or loses games sometimes. And it wasn't that Lions game. And it almost hurt us in the Vikings game too, which Luke Getsy just decided, let's throw 21 screen passes. The most in the NFL since 2020, I heard. That is ridiculous. I know the Vikings blitz. They blitz more than anyone in the league. But that doesn't mean you need to just throw screen passes. I just don't get it. They're both so bad. Luke Getsy is so bad. I'm convinced he was sent by the Packers to keep us down. Seriously. I guess the only thing good from an offensive perspective in this Vikings game was that Justin Fields and DJ Moore, their connection's real. I think you can't deny that now. It started in the Commanders game, and since then they've just continued to be better and better. DJ Moore is a top 5 receiver in the league right now in terms of yardage.
Okay.
Yeah, wait till I finish the sentence. He's probably a top, at least top 15 receiver overall.
I'd be scared for a second.
Anyway,
He's drinking that Bears Kool-Aid.
but he's been incredible. You can't deny that he's been incredible. He's been incredible. He already has over 1,000 yards, something that the Bears haven't seen from a receiver since like Allen Robinson in 2020, I think. So that's really, really nice to see.
That's weird to think Allen Robinson had 1,000 yards.
Yeah, he was really freaking good in 2020.
He really was.
Him and Mitch, man. Him, Mitch, and Nick Foles. And then Justin, of course, finally got that last second drive to win the game, something that people have been clamoring for him to do in a while. Of course, it came after 2 fumbles, which those were bad. But again, I know I'm biased towards Justin because he played at Ohio State, whatever. I don't necessarily blame him for those because the first one came when we were up by 6 in the plus territory. Why are we throwing deep? Just run the ball, kick a field goal. We go up by 2 possessions. Luke Getsy, what are you doing? Matt Eberflus, what are you doing? It doesn't matter anymore. Last thing I'll say, finally, I guess I'm going to give Eberflus credit. He really has turned this defense around ever since he became the full-time play caller. I guess that whole Alan Williams thing was a blessing in disguise on that side of the ball. I mean, the defense is really, really good. They are good. They're a top 10 defense now.
Pretty good.
In terms of, statistics at least. Mm-hmm. And they've got some dogs. They really do have some dogs in that defense. Like TJ Edwards, middle linebacker, made some incredible plays cutting down Vikings receivers before they got to the first down line. Montez Sweat has been incredible. Montez Sweat is just – he's going to torture the NFC North for a while. You guys know it.
No,
you know it. He already has.
He's good.
He already has. Just so many good players.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's okay. Let's go.
He's good.
I could spend all day going through each player on the defense. I love this defense. To me, they don't really have a weakness right now in terms of just youth, I guess, is their weakness. But other than that, they're supremely talented. So shout out to the Bears. You don't want to play them right now. We get a bye week this week, then we get revenge on the Detroit Lions in week 14. Let's go, Bears. That's why I'm wearing it today. This is the first time of the season where I've actually been proud to be a Bears fan.
Playoff run.
I like the way we're doing it. And I don't even know. I don't know if we're going to go on a 2022 Packers run where we lose to our rival in the last week of the season and don't make it. But regardless, I'm just happy that we're winning some games. I don't really care about our draft pick at this point because the Panthers are so bad that I think we're going to get number 1 regardless. So let's go, Bears. Get a bye week. Rest up. Lions are coming to town.
Sure.
And now I get to keep talking, which I'm tired of doing at this point. It's been such a long pod.
I know.
I've been talking so much.
I know.
It's okay.
So we'll make it quick.
It's okay. We'll make it quick. Let's get to the picks. That's what everyone cares about, right?
Right.
JB, 11-1 in his last 12.
I'm on fire. I'm hot.
He's hot. 21-15 on the season. Cole is also.
He's on fire. He's on fire.
Cole is also 21-15. I'm 25-11, which is still fantastic. What?
He's just being fun. Anyways.
The single digit in my loss column is gone, unfortunately. But I am still ahead by 4 games. But, Cole, we've both got to step our games up. We've all 3 at this point had our spurts, right? Cole started 7-2, and now he's kind of 500. I had that 11-1 stretch a few weeks ago. Now Joey's had his. Let's see what happens from here on out. First game of the week. I cannot believe this is a big game. If you would have told me this was a big game a month ago, I would not have believed you.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos, who are 6-5, at the 6-5 Texans. The Broncos are 3.5-point underdogs. Cole Daly, are the Broncos are they just this weird team that is just finding ways to win games now? Are they frauds? Or are they frauds?
One, they're frauds. But here's what I told Joey B. Is this game is really you're picking a narrative. It's either A, you believe in the Sean Payton Broncos experience, or B, you believe that C.J. Stroud is a truly, truly elite quarterback that can lead his team to 9 wins this season. And honestly, we'll get to the C.J. Stroud thing later, so don't even worry about it. But I just think that I respect teams that find a way to win games, even if they're bad. I'm not hating on C.J. Stroud. I just think I just can't crown the Texans yet. This game is where I'm going to decide which narrative I fully believe. Because they are 2 teams that are kind of narrative driven. And if the Texans win this one, then I'm a full Texans. I'm buying some stock before they get all the way up there.
Yep.
And the Broncos, I'm probably not buying, but I do think that they come out with the win in this game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just do.
So,
JB.
If the Broncos come out with a win, would you buy stock in the Broncos?
It's not a very large share, but it's.
But you're saying you would if the Texans win.
If the Texans win, I'm buying a pretty large share, not necessarily for this season, but so that it can multiply by next season.
Right.
If we're in the mind of an investor, but with the Broncos, I'm probably not. I really don't believe in the Broncos. I just think that they win this game. I know I went on that whole tangent, but
fair.
I just think they win this
Joey
game.
Bernard.
CJ Stroud, I should have paid more attention to Jay Cruz's talk about CJ Stroud last year because he's impressed me so far.
Whole country should have.
In a year.
Jesus, man, come on.
Hey, when I'm right about something, I'm gonna count it home. The whole country showed up.
The whole country's listening to this podcast.
In a season that
shout out to the whole country. Thanks for watching.
In a season that I don't think QB play has really been the greatest. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
QB
been
play
awful.
Has been pretty
it was
bad.
bad last year.
Half of them are hurt too.
We talked about it last
that
year
is
where I was
true.
like, Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback now because he's a great thrower of the ball. Obviously, that's now wrong. But to start the season, he was like more of a running.
Yeah.
Of course.
Go ahead.
I think CJ Stroud has just impressed me with everything he's been able to do with the Texans team that was really down in the dumps last season, and I don't think they have any right to be at 6 wins this year, and I think CJ Stroud is a big part of that. And I don't know how real the talk of him winning MVP is, but if he has a couple more big games, he might be top 5 in there. I don't know. I'm picking the Texans solely because of CJ Stroud. I don't really think Russell Wilson has been the reason why they've won their games recently. They're on, a 6-game winning streak, 5-game winning streak, whatever. They were undefeated in November. So I'm going Texans in this one. I'm going Texans confidently.
Okay.
I'm gonna roll with you, Joey. I love my guy CJ Stroud, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you guys know I like CJ Stroud?
Oh.
I don't know if we talked about it on the
Is he your
podcast.
little Pookie Bear? CJ Stroud?
He's not my little Pookie Bear. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks ever, though, and I called it when he was in college and while we were talking about the draft last year that he was going to be the best quarterback in this draft, and I think he's unequivocally that guy.
Do you think? Because there's been a lot of crap on Bryce Young. I've seen a lot of crapping.
It's not all his fault.
I was gonna say if you put CJ Stroud on the Panthers,
He's better than Bryce.
He's better than Bryce Young.
He's better than Bryce Young, but he's not what he is right now.
right? That's what I think.
100%.
Just wanted to
Yeah,
throw that
kind
out
of
there.
surprising that the Panthers get rid of Frank Reich just after 10 games, period. He just became their coach at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, but he sucks.
They're not
They're
afraid to
terrible.
fire coaches mid-season anymore.
No.
It's just weird.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Poles for absolutely fleecing the Carolina Panthers in the offseason.
Absolutely.
Anyway, next game, easily the best game of the week, is the 49ers. It's the Eagles. 49ers 8-3. They are actually 3-point favorites in this game, which kind of surprised me.
Because it's in Philadelphia as well.
It is also in Philadelphia. The Eagles are 10-1. They have been going through a gauntlet lately. When they lost to the Jets, I think a lot of people were like, yep, Eagles are frauds. Here comes this gauntlet of the Dolphins, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills. They're going to start losing some games. The Cowboys are going to win the division. Well, they have responded, and they have kept on trucking. They beat the Dolphins, Cowboys, Chiefs, and Bills. Mm-hmm. Wild. But they get another tough game here. They go to Dallas next week, too. So the Eagles are just big game after big game after big game. Joey Bernard, I'm going to start with you. Do you find it weird that the 49ers are favored in this game, too? I honestly thought the Eagles would be.
Absolutely. I mean, it's in Philly, of course. Everybody's going to point that out. But the Eagles have faced every tough test with confidence that they've had to face this year, even extending into last season. And I think the Eagles team that we're watching this year is very, very similar to last season's, too. I wish I had the stat in front of me. I was trying to look it up a second ago, but I know they have some type of win streak against teams with a winning record, and it's 9-0, 10-0, something like that. So, I mean, that was just amazing to see, except the Super Bowl, of course. So it might have been a regular season statistic too. Yeah. I feel like they should be favored in this one as the 10-1 team. Jalen Hurts is the leader in MVP odds right now, as far as I understand. But then again, I don't know how much that really means in a season, like I mentioned, with really bad QB play, and I don't know if there's really a clear MVP right now. But regardless, I think the Eagles will be able to put a stamp on this as, yes, we are legit yet again, because it seems like anytime they do that, there's still doubters that are like, well, they're going to fall off eventually. Jalen Hurts isn't, but I think it's the Eagles win for this one.
Cole Daly.
I'm going Eagles. Eagles times 2.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
I think a big thing that I'll mention on this section, because we talk about it a lot in college football. I like that the Eagles coach is a psychopath, and he's just. I love coaches that are nuts.
Word of the day.
Yeah, like clearly he is not a normal guy at all.
No, he's
but I
not.
like that. I like that he's not, because he can convince his team. Oh, everybody's doubting us, even though we're 8-1.
Yeah.
And I think that they win. I think that they beat the Niners, who, as I've talked about a multitude of times on this show, I'm going to be tuning into this game, obviously, because it's awesome. But I'm a really big fan of both these teams, and I think that either one of these teams probably end up winning the Super Bowl this year.
What do you guys think about the Buffalo Bills? Quick answer.
Just
Overrated.
It's not really that great, probably.
Well, they probably should have beaten the Eagles last week.
Yeah.
What a game that was, too. I mean,
Game
shout
of the
out
year.
Jake Elliott hitting that 59-yard field goal in the rain. Jalen Hurts, of course, leading him down the field. That is partially why I'm going to pick the Niners in this one. I just think I read off that gauntlet. I think the Eagles are kind of running out of gas right now. I think that close game against the Bills said everything I need to hear. I'm actually going to go Niners, who very, very quietly are revving up their engines middle of the season, as they always do. They kind of they fall off towards the beginning, middle-ish, and then you get everyone healthy. And the Niners are playing really, really good football. So give me the San Francisco 49ers. Final game of the week, another game that I did not think would ever be on this list. I kind of want to end the pod now because I don't want to hear Joey talk about how excited he is about his 5-6 Packers.
Playoffs.
But he is.
Baby.
I feel like
Could be a 7
I feel like if I'd have told Joey the Packers were 5-6, he'd be like, "Oh, that sucks." But given the way the season's gone, it's kind of a good thing. They're in playoff position.
Absolutely.
They're only a half game back of the Minnesota
Is this
Vikings,
even what
right?
you want, though? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is this even what you want? Because
Why wouldn't I want to win?
now you can't get Joe Alt. Now you can't get Bo Nix. Now you can't get these guys that'll actually make your team better, and so you won't stay mid all the time.
Can I just start
Just
my
go
little
ahead.
rant here? I think we're seeing the maturation of Jordan Love after the past couple weeks. I like being able to see progress with Jordan Love. I know you're like saving the receipts and
Yes.
everything. You even saved a retweet of mine about
Yes.
seeing good quarterback play.
Yes.
So I know you're saving that for a couple weeks when he has,
Yes.
or maybe even next week if this
Or
is
Joey,
just
yes.
a terrible week for Jordan Love. But he's
Yes.
obviously playing much better.
He is.
He looked amazing in that Detroit Lions game on Thanksgiving on national stage. I was so mad that they didn't have a freaking turkey leg for him to eat after
Yeah,
a
they
post game.
didn't. How sad.
Every year they have one, and they don't have one this time. But they are, they are such a young team, and I've been talking about this all season. And it was going to break eventually one of these times where he was going to have some good sync games with Jaden Reed or even Christian Watson, who I'm still not the greatest fan of Christian Watson. I still stand by my statement of I think we need to trade him. But to have the confidence in Jordan Love to right off the gate, first play of the game, throw a deep shot with him after not really having the greatest couple. He had a decent game against the Chargers, who are the worst pass defense in the league.
Yeah.
And then, but besides that, it hasn't been the greatest all season long. Besides maybe the Bears game, so for them to still have that type of confidence in Jordan Love on the road, missing Aaron Jones, missing Elton Jenkins, with that terrible O-line, who I still hate. It tells me everything I need to know how much they think about him, and to see this maturation of him, I love it. I'm picking the Packers in this one.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I'm going against the Packers again. I will just say this about the Packers. I think Matt LaFleur has cemented himself as one of the top coaches in this league for sure. I mean, what he's
Absolutely.
doing with that offense that I'd argue isn't as talented as like the Bears, for example. I think the Bears have more like pure talent on their team, especially offensively. But what he's done with these young receivers, their system is perfect. They know how to run it really well. Jaden Reed's been playing really good, by the way.
I love him.
Another guy that I was pretty high on in the draft, for what it's worth.
You
Yeah.
mentioned him in our
I did.
players to keep your eyes out for.
I did, and he's been playing really, really well. He had another long touchdown last week against the Lions, one against the Chargers as well. Did he have one against the Lions? Am I misremembering? Jaden Reed?
No.
I thought.
No, I'm thinking of
was
one
he
against
not-
the
was he
Chargers
the
then.
I thought he was the slant. Yeah, he was.
Oh, he was.
Yeah, it was
You're
Jaden
right.
Reed.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, Jaden Reed's been playing really, really well.
This guy calls himself a Packers.
And I guess the Packers are just they're doing the thing that in order to win this league, you can get away with not having great skill talent if you're good on both sides of the line, which they are, besides John Runyon, of course. And then if you have a really good head coach who knows how to scheme up some plays for for his team. But I'm still going Chiefs. Cole Daly, are you still going Chiefs as well?
I'm going Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs covering this -6
So blowout.
spread. Blowout's probably a stretch, but I think the Chiefs are really good.
In Lambeau?
Yeah, I don't know if that truly changes. I mean, I know Lambeau is one of the places in the NFL, like Philly, right? There is a real home field advantage there, but yeah, man, it's been fun.
December at Lambeau stinks.
So you're telling me that you think
It's at night,
Jordan Love. It's Patrick Mahomes, guys. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. I think.
Dink and dunk.
I'm just saying.
What else have the Chiefs done well recently besides have Patrick Mahomes?
He's about all I got.
What really did the Patriots do well than 20 times besides have Tom Brady?
Not much.
I mean.
So that makes your point, yeah.
I'm just saying.
They have a good defense, too. Chiefs D is pretty good.
I was going to say Chiefs defense. That's why I'm picking them in this game. The Chiefs need to figure out their wide receiver problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it is bad. They have copious amounts of drops every week that really cost them games. That's why I don't think they'll win that Super Bowl. Point is, but this Chiefs defense is legit, and Jordan Love, this thing's been fun. It's been real fun, but played a good game against the Chargers, worst pass defense in the league, and then the Lions, who I don't know if the statistics say it, but probably is the worst talent-wise.
Yeah.
I think, listen, C.J. Stroud has looked a lot better. I'm not going to take anything away from him, but he's going to have a lot of pressure coming after him in this Chiefs game, and it's going to be hard to handle, especially with the offensive line that you've mentioned that you're not a big fan of.
Did you say C.J. Stroud?
Yeah.
Did I say C.J. Stroud?
I think you meant Jordan Love.
I definitely meant Jordan Love.
Do not disparage C.J. Stroud's name.
I would never.
Goodness gracious.
I mean, I would. I have multiple times.
You have.
But, yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs on this one. I'm pretty confident. Go Pack, go. But I don't think I've picked the Packers once this year, and I think it's been working out for me. So that kind of concludes it.
Except on Thanksgiving?
Except for that one.
Except
for that one. Except for that one.
All right, so
Sorry.
we have no games this week where all three of us are picking one team to win. So it's going to be a very high variance week in the standings for sure. Cole and I...
It probably won't go well for me. That's how it's been going.
for real. Excuse me. I can't... My brain just malfunctioned. Joey and I are going with the Texans over the Broncos. Cole's sticking with unlimited Russell Wilson. Cole and Joey are going with the Eagles over the Niners. Somehow the Niners are favored. That's why I'm picking them. And then me and Cole are smartly going with Chiefs over Joey's Packers, who he's picking with his heart and not his head, I believe. So we'll see what happens, though. It's going to be a fantastic week of football.
So if he's drinking the Bears Orange Crush, you're drinking the Packers Sprite?
He's eating the cheese.
What's a green soda?
The Packers Sprite. The Packers Sprite.
What,
Sprite's clear. Yeah. It'd be Mountain Dew.
Yeah, it'd be Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew's yellow.
Oh, I guess are we talking about the actual drink? I was talking about more like
liquid.
branding, because the branding of Sprite is yellow and
Can you say he's
green.
He's
now we're
drinking
getting way too complicated here. I call it Mountain Dew.
Get a load of this guy. Packers beat the Lion one time. All of a sudden, he thinks he's the host. He goes, we're going crazy.
I think we need to get out of here. What did we learn, Cole? Take us to that segment, please.
I was wrong about C.J. Stroud, and I wanted to talk about it last week, but I couldn't because Duke.
I can't believe he's actually admitting it.
Because Duke and Texas won, and I was like, well, I can't. But I've been saving this one out for a couple weeks, and now's the perfect time to talk about it. I was very wrong about C.J. Stroud. I have officially bought my stake on in my C.J. Stroud. I bought a pretty hefty portion in him.
Yeah.
I think he's great. I think it's been a little ridiculous. All the MVP talk has been okay, so maybe a little bit much.
Yeah.
But what I say is probably top 10 quarterback in the league. I'd probably put him up there. I'd probably still take Jared Goff because I've seen it for more years. But I think that C.J. Stroud has been the better quarterback this year. But you know how I do my rankings. I'll have to do my rankings here soon and show them to you guys.
For sure.
Right.
I think after the season's over, you can do a recap and go through the list.
Right. I don't know if I went on the pod with my rankings last year. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
I think we did. I think I tricked you. Remember the Anthony Richardson thing? I made you make a top 10 list, and you did.
Anthony Richardson looked good before he
did look really good.
Before all he did is hurt himself.
Did we all make a whole 32 list and compare it, or was that just me one day?
I think that was you
spitting, and you guys were.
We were probably just spitting.
Complaining.
I don't know. Okay. Joey, what did you learn?
What I learned this week, I just
disagree with yours entirely. I think this is just you.
Let him say it.
Sorry,
Let him give
go
his
ahead.
reasoning.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I know you've heard J. Cruz over here. So, okay.
Well, that's true.
My thing that I learned this week is every single sports fan, every once in a while, at least one time in their, I don't know, fandom, one time a year, they will overreact about something that they're super excited about or maybe even super, like, angry about. You know, oh, we need to tank because we're on a 4-game losing streak. Oh, my gosh, we're going to the Super Bowl or something like that. Every fan does that. And I think I'm trying to be self-aware about what I'm like doing with Jordan Love. Like, yes, I have seen great play recently from Jordan Love, but I'm trying to keep it tame, I guess. I understand he's not going to throw 3 touchdowns probably against the Chiefs. I don't think so, at least. That still doesn't change my pick, though. I still think Green Bay is going to win. My point is, every fan does this every once in a while. Every fan has a favorite team that they're a little partial to in their heart. You with Texas, Jay Cruz with his Bears and Ohio State, me with my Packers.
I'd say, yeah.
Fair
I do
enough.
think...
You just learned that this week?
Don't say that to him. My only point is I think that you are the king of overreacting. You might have the crown. I don't want to hear
Follow
from you too.
Broseph
I don't
Bernard
like
on Twitter.
That's true.
I mean,
That's
I
true.
do get pretty rowdy on there, but I think
Every
we all...
time Jordan Love completed a pass, he's like, "We are seeing the
Oh my
ascension
gosh,
of
let's get
Jordan
outta
Love.
here. Let's
We
get
are
outta here with
seeing
that.
it."
Okay. Joey's right. Let's get out of here. Jay Cruz.
Yeah,
You last.
money can't buy happiness, guys. Money truly can't. So on Friday, right? There's this new what should I call it? App that was offering free money. If you put in like $5, it would give you like $200.
Did you get caught in a pyramid scheme over the weekend?
No. Anyway, there's this new like sports betting app or whatever, and we don't promote that on here. But Joey and I are of age, and I saw that they were giving away free $200 to bet with if you put in like 5. So I did that, and they gave me 4 increments of 50 that I had to bet 50 each on, which sucked. I went 0 for my first 3. And on Black Friday, before the games, before rivalry weekend on Saturday, I was driving up to another Thanksgiving with my family and with my brother and his friend and my friend, and I said, guys, just give me a play. So we all put a little parlay together, and we won a lot of money.
Nice.
Right, and I was happy. And you know what we won on?
What'd you win?
We won on Anthony Edwards getting 2 assists with like under a minute to go.
That's great.
In the game on Friday night against the Kings.
That's a great feeling.
Right? Did you watch that game? Or do you know that game happened at least?
Yes.
Sure.
No, I didn't watch that game.
I probably wouldn't
It
have
was
either, had I
Thanksgiving
not.
time.
I had the
know.
game cast on. I was at Red Robin on Friday night. I had the game cast on. It was an electric moment.
Red Robin.
For
Red
everyone.
Robin
You know,
action.
Red Robin's incredible. We don't not sponsored, but anyway.
Sponsor
So anyway, I was
us,
really
Red
really happy. But then of course you all know what happened the next day. Ohio State lost to Michigan, and honestly, I couldn't care less if I had won that parlay anymore because I'm just so down about Ohio State losing to Michigan again. Probably not going to make the playoff. Another off season of.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so
wondering
much for watching
what would've
episode 13 of the Inside Sports Podcast. Yes, the DE is capitalized. This is Jay Cruz to my right, the one crying on his laptop. We got Joey, me, and then obviously me right here. Folks, it's been a rough one. It's our first one back. We weren't in the groove of it. But thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like, leave a comment if you can, and then subscribe to our channel and hit the bell notification so that you know every Friday when these comes out. It's Friday.
Yes, sir.
And then on Spotify, please be sure to give that a listen as well. Like the episode and hit the follow button on there so that, once again, you can listen every Friday. So, folks, have a great rest of your day.
Oh, my God.